What's up guys, Matt here. I'm going to show you in this video how to install the Q5 IPS display in your NeoGeo Pocket Color. So in a previous video, which was my first time opening up a NeoGeo Pocket Color, I installed the 2.5 inch, I think it was 2.5, 2.5, it was a TFT LCD display for the NeoGeo Pocket Color. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to remove it and install the new one. About halfway through the video, I'm probably gonna advise you to stop and just go to the end, because everything from about halfway on is some additional wiring, but completely optional wiring that I really don't think you really need to do. So let's check it out. Here is the NeoGeo with the old TFT LCD screen in. And to be completely honest, this could totally get the job done. It had 5 brightness levels. The display was smaller compared to stock and way smaller compared to the IPS. And here you see the clear shell in full. So the kit did not come with a glass lens. I just so happen to have this one lying around. And here you see the difference between the 2.5 inch screen lens and this one. Big difference there. And here's what the kit comes with. Some insulating film for the board and for the screen. Some adhesive to stick the screen onto the front housing, but I didn't use that. This is the screen's PCB that makes all the magic happen. And of course the screen itself, which I believe may be the same screen that's used in a few other screen mods. Alright, so these are the points on the board that I'm going to solder later. And just a quick look at the board itself. These are the touch sensors that will stick to the top of the case. And that's the ribbon that connects to the main board of the NeoGeo Pocket Color. And we'll come back for these little solder pads in a bit. Comes with these 4 wires in case you want to wire it up. And to start, we remove the thumbstick. Pop out your cartridge and your batteries if you have them in there already. We're going to be removing these screws on the back. There's 6 screws total. A couple of screwdrivers handy, and the first one we're going to take out is the tri-wing at the bottom left, and all of the others are Phillips. So once those are out, take the back off. And if you notice, I kept the battery on the right side there. I kept that in because we don't need to remove it. We're going to be removing these 3 screws from the board. Once those are out, of course your stock NeoGeo Pocket might look different. We're going to still unplug the display from the main board located here by pushing the black tabs down, and the ribbon should just come right out like so. Remove the silicone. Since this is an aftermarket case, the speaker came right out. To lift up the tab to get the display out of the old PCB. Remove it, close it up. Remove the rest of the silicone pads and the buttons. And I used the spudger to remove the previously 3D printed bracket and the older LCD. So this is the bit of plastic we're going to be removing here at the bottom. That whole piece. And there's 2 tabs up at the top. One here at the left. And then one right across on the right side. So for that, we're going to use flush cutters. And I started with the top tabs. You're going to have to turn it and angle it a certain way. And probably cut a few times just to make sure all the plastic is removed. That's pretty flush. And now for the entire piece at the bottom of the housing. And make a couple of cuts and then start taking each piece out one by one. I'll probably find that piece when I move out. That went flying. And just be sure to clean up any extra plastic you might see sticking up. I laid the screen in just to make sure it fit okay. The protective film is still on the screen. But we're going to take this protective film and put it on the back of the screen's PCB. And then we're going to do the same for the larger piece, except on the back of the screen itself. And just gently make sure it's on there. Tap it lightly. Then, if you still have the lens on the front housing, you're gonna kind of flex it just to make sure that you're able to pop one side out. This one gave me a little bit of a hard time, but it eventually came out. I peeled the protective layer off the front of the screen, turned it over, and laid it in. Now the screen fits perfectly. I didn't put the adhesive down, didn't feel like it was necessary. I then put the buttons and the silicone pads back in. I then attached the ribbon from the screen's PCB to the console's PCB, like so, with the pins facing downward towards the board. Just insert it like that. And you're gonna have to kind of bend the ribbon like this a little bit, in like a kind of a Z shape, just to make sure it all fits. Kind of had to turn everything at a angle and connect the screen to the screen's PCB. It should just click together.
And I didn't attach these yet because I do that later on in the video in the later half, but it's just a little white piece of paper that has to peel off, and then those can stick into the top housing. I then attach the back, making sure no wires are getting stuck. Put the screws in, put the thumbstick in, and it boots up. That light's blinking because the battery didn't line up, but that's fine for now. Here you see cycling through the color palettes. Trying to find the original color here. There we go. There we go. The screen is beautiful. Here you see the brightness levels. 10 in total. And the pixels are on display here. When you hold down the left tab, the pixels go away. Well, they will this time. There you go.
Okay, hold on, stop. This is the part where we're just about halfway through the video. You can totally stop here and skip to the end. Everything from here on is optional soldering. I really don't think it's worth it. The on-screen display that you wind up getting as a result of soldering these wires from one board to another doesn't really do much for this system. It might be helpful for systems like a Game Boy or Game Boy Pocket or Game Boy Color. If you need the screen centered a little bit, you can do that using buttons, but honestly, the button configuration is a little bit confusing, and I just don't really think it's worth it. But if you care to continue on, cool, go for it, and I'll see you in the end.
So these points here on the board, the bottom four are the ones we're going to be soldering. Add a little bit of solder. Select A, B, and battery. Select in this case is option. It should look something like this. You don't need too much. And the points on the board we're going to be soldering are located here. A, B. See, they're also labeled on the board, which is nice. And that is option. A, B, option, and then battery is all the way down here in the corner. So we're just going to add a little bit of solder to each of these points. And then the board should look something like this. You're going to attach the 4 wires coming out of the screen's PCB, and then just attach them one by one, with the battery wire going to the battery port down at the bottom, B to B, A to A, and then what's labeled select on the screen's PCB over to option on the NeoGeo's board. Put all the buttons back in once again. I attach the screen to the screen's PCB, and then that to the NeoGeo system board. You can refer to all that from earlier in the video. Put everything in place, and finally peel these little pieces of paper off. It's probably the hardest part of the install is this. I use some tweezers to angle them in, and then use the tweezers to make sure that they stick, and a spudge or two if you have one handy, and then did the same to the other side. And you just have to put the screws back in, 3 screws for the main board, route this wire as far away as possible, and tuck the other wires in there well enough, like right next to the cartridge slot. Lights out, and there you see it. Let's adjust that brightness a bit. All 10 levels here. All the different color palettes. Kind of throws things off since this is already a color system. Little bit closer look here. Different viewing angles thanks to this wonderful IPS screen. When you hold down the left pad, the pixels disappear. Pixels back on. It also, as a result, dims the screen a little bit. And here's where things got fun. Holding Option A and B at the same time brings up the on-screen display. It allows you to turn the pixel effect on and off, show the battery display, adjust the color, and adjust the horizontal and vertical height of the screen. All of this is unnecessary for the system. If you see here, the screen fits the console perfectly, and the battery display is controlled by the touchpad only if you solder the one battery line. At this point, I attached the added the glass lens to the console, and then played with the settings a bit more, booting up a different colorful game. Pixels off again. And pixels back on. Let's try to bring up that menu again. B is down and A is up. Using the D-pad does nothing. Remember, we only wired in A, B, option, and the battery, so the stick would do nothing here. So option and A allows you to enter into one of the settings, and then A and B let you slide up and down. And if you see here, the screen lowered significantly by changing the horizontal position. So I changed that back and want to show here the battery display. You see there in the top right corner. Could be helpful, but no big deal if it's not there. By holding down the right tab, it goes away. That's only if you solder the battery line in. And here the pixels are moved again. You really don't need the on-screen display for this system.
Alright, so in the end, the install wasn't too bad. I know I say that a lot, but the screen installs on handhelds don't really seem to be too crazy unless you're working on something like a Game Gear, but this is not that. It's much easier. Having the IPS screen, much brighter colors, a much larger screen, it's totally worth it. It's about 50 to 60 bucks depending on where you get it from. I'll have links below for where I got mine from, as well as the instructions that I followed. And again, soldering those extra lines doesn't really do too much. If there's one line you're gonna solder, I would suggest it be the battery one. But even that isn't really completely necessary. I like to see the little battery meter up in the corner. I like the ability of turning it on and off. But as far as the other three, the option A and B wires, you don't necessarily need to hook those up. You don't have to hook any of them up. Just drop the screen in, cut the space, drop the screen in, and close the system up, and you're all good. One buggy thing I did realize is with the batteries. If you're using batteries that are close to dead, not fully dead or depleted, the system will turn on, but it will not power on the screen. I encountered that during the install process with testing it. I used the batteries that I had in the NeoGeo from the previous mod, and I've gone through at least 2 sets of batteries in the NeoGeo Pocket with the previous mod. They go all the way till they're dead. One thing I noticed with this is that after a couple of hours of playing, I'll turn the system off, turn it back on, and the screen will be unresponsive. I'll hear music, I'll see the backlight turn on very quickly, but then turn right back off. Not particularly too happy with that. I wonder if this screen is just drawing way too much power. Were it from someone else, like Funny Playing or something like that, perhaps the power usage might have been a little bit more optimized, but I don't know. Just like the Game Boy Pocket and the original DMG Game Boy, I love having the pixels on the screen for this. I really need to find a place that sells just the more open screen, the glass lens. I want to be able to see the whole screen. Very little bit of the screen is cut off on here, and it's definitely more than playable. I just so happen to have this lens lying around, so I got kind of lucky. I didn't want to use the original plastic lens. I'm not a huge fan of those. They scratch up real easily. And then the one that I used for the 2.5-inch display definitely wouldn't have fit on here. It would have looked terrible. So my advice is, if you have a stock or previously modded NeoGeo Pocket Color, this mod is totally worth it. You don't have to do the additional soldering at all. Drop the screen in and you're good to go. Close the system up, start playing. Just keep in mind what I said about the batteries though. because that could probably pose an issue for plenty of other people. I was using Amazon Basics. I tried Energizer Lithium, and now I'm using Energizer Max because I had a box of those lying around. So I want to see how it performs using these Energizer Maxes. I tend to have better luck with Energizer Lithium. They tend to last much longer for me than standard AA's. So anyway, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Is this something you want to do? Did you do it already? How did it go for you? And what's your favorite game on the NeoGeo Pocket Color? I want to play some more of this in the future. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. Stay safe. Peace out.